So when you have people say the problem is Islam, the identifying factor that you can use to contribute to your conversation.
It said that Muslims...
You can look it up. Look up Pew Research Muslims and
Don't
Sharia.
have to look it up.
Okay, well, what do you want me to do? Bring out my phone right now and show it to you? Dude.
If you're going to defame the Muslim faith, I'd expect you at least...
Public debates around Islam, Sharia law, and Western liberal values often collapse into chaos not because the questions are unclear, but because the answers reveal deep ideological fault lines.
That said that Muslims...
You can look it up. Look up Pew Research Muslims and
Don't
Sharia.
have to look it up.
Okay, well, what do you want me to do? Bring out my phone?
One such confrontation unfolded during a street interview involving political commentator Lauren Southern, where what began as a discussion quickly spiraled into hostility, deflection, and intellectual inconsistency.
Under Sharia law? Would you like to see Sharia law in Molenbeek?
Why no? Yeah.
Would you say most people in Molenbeek would like to see Sharia law here?
En fait, ce qu'il dit, est-ce que vous voulez voir la charia s'appliquer à Molenbeek?
Peut-être, peut-être.
Maybe.
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 You think most people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Et vous pensez que beaucoup de monde sont d'accord pour appliquer la charia à Molenbeek?
Beaucoup de monde. Yeah.
A lot of people do agree with that.
The exchange started with a deceptively simple question. Lauren Southern asked a Muslim man whether he supported Sharia law. The question was not framed as an accusation, nor was it aggressive.
All right, so I'm here in Molenbeek with Sofiane, and you said you've been here 3 months now?
Yeah. I have 3 months here.
And you like Molenbeek?
Yes, I like Molenbeek. Yeah.
You're saying you like Molenbeek because you're Muslim?
yeah. Because I have my work here. I am hairdresser, you understand? I am hairdresser, and I have for my station here, we don't have here the racism, you understand?
Would you like to see Molenbeek under Sharia law? Would you like to see Sharia law in Molenbeek?
Why no? Yeah.
Would you say most people in Molenbeek would like to see Sharia law here?
En fait, ce qu'il dit, est-ce que vous voulez voir la charia s'appliquer à Molenbeek?
Peut-être.
Maybe.
Maybe. You think most people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Et vous pensez que beaucoup de monde sont d'accord pour appliquer la charia à Molenbeek?
Beaucoup de monde. Yeah.
A lot of people do agree with.
It was a direct inquiry: do you like Sharia law, and would you want it implemented more broadly? Specifically, she pressed further. Would he want it everywhere, including in the UK? And if not, why? Was it too extreme?
A lot of people from Western countries think that Sharia is very extreme, just because, having women cover their faces, having some people have their hands cut off, or having death for homosexuals, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Ok, ce qu'il dit, c'est que il y a beaucoup de gens qui pensent que la charia c'est très dur parce que c'est contre les homosexuels, parce que les femmes doivent se couvrir. Donc, qu'est-ce que vous en pensez?
Chacun son goût et chacun son mentalité.
Everybody does what following his feelings and what he thinks.
Pour moi, j'ai pas de problème.
Et for him, it is not a problem. Not a problem.
The
Sharia is not a problem.
It's not a problem. So what would you think of the other night in Brussels? They had a transsexual that was stabbed. What is your thoughts on that?
Il y a quelques jours, il y a un transsexuel, un homosexuel qui a été poignardé à Bruxelles. Qu'est-ce que vous en pensez?
Je sais pas. Reste tranquille, parce que nous aimons le calme, c'est tout.
What he said is everybody should remain calm because here is calm.
But you're still okay with no homosexuals in Molenbeek?
Ok. Est-ce que vous voulez interdire les homosexuels à Molenbeek?
À l'aise, chacun son goût. Normal, non? Normal.
Oui ou non?
Oui, pourquoi pas?
Oui. He says yes, why not?
When the topic turned to real-world consequences, particularly the stabbing of a transgender individual, Southern asked what he thought about such violence.
Well then, interesting. So he basically said that, yes, probably the majority of people in Molenbeek support Sharia law. He was very quiet about the transsexual stabbing, but he said yes. I'd support no homosexuals in Molenbeek. And in fact, I support Sharia law, which says women should cover their faces. There should be execution of gays. So, interesting.
Instead of condemning the act unequivocally or addressing the moral implications, the discussion veered off course, revealing the discomfort many feel when ideology is confronted with outcomes. At this point, a second interview entered the conversation, dramatically escalating the tone.
So do you know what percentage of Muslims are terrorists?
No, but I know there's a large
So
percentage that are quite
small.
radical.
Very small.
Of course, very
percentage.
small terrorism, but very large. That
So when you
support
say
Sharia.
a lot of
Hey,
them,
do you support Sharia?
do you know what Sharia is?
Yeah, Sharia law.
What is Sharia?
Cut off your hand if you steal.
Wrong.
Wrong?
Wrong.
That's not in
So,
Sharia.
can I do you a favor? I'm a Muslim person. I'm about to explain to you what Islam is.
All right, you
But
go right
need to
ahead,
do me a
sir.
favor. You need to not tell me what my religion is, okay? Sharia is the interpretation, right? It's the act of interpreting something. When you take the Constitution and you're constantly reinterpreting it into law.
Sharia law. Sharia law.
I'm explaining it to you. You don't have to cut me off. That's fine. What I'm saying is the act of a person, taking the Quran or the Hadith, interpreting it and turning it into law, the result is called Sharia law. So when you look at Indonesia, who has Sharia law, and you look at Saudi Arabia, also has Sharia law, they're very, very different. Indonesia elected 2 different female heads of state. In Saudi Arabia, women can't drive. So when we're going to try to talk about sexism in the Islamic world, we need to be critical of the people who are participating in it and not just condemning the billions of people. That's where the bigotry comes in. When you have somebody who says something like, Islam is the enemy, quote unquote, would you agree if somebody said Islam hates?
He argues that Sharia law and Islam more broadly are often misunderstood. According to him, hatred toward transgender people and others is not inherently Islamic but rather a result of interpretation. In his view, the problem wasn't Islam itself, only how some choose to apply it.
Yes.
You would.
Yes. I think the majority of the Islamic world
Doesn't that
does.
sound like something that a bigot would say?
I think you're just throwing the word bigot out there. I don't think it has much meaning
Bigotry
to it.
means you take a small anecdotal example and you use it to define
I'm
the
looking at
correct-
Pew
You
Research.
don't have to cut me off. It's fine. Well,
Oh,
I'm
you're
explaining
very-
to you Islam. A Muslim. This is an opportunity to learn.
We're having a conversation. I don't want you to explain.
I'm teaching you what Islam is, so you can stop telling
I
people.
don't want your
that
takia. I don't
Muslims-
want your takia.
She's an expert in Islam. I'm trying to help you. I'm really trying to help educate you and your audience. Muslims make up over 2.5 billion people. And of course, there's a war-torn area where we all need to be concerned about. ISIS, they're the devil incarnate.
Okay.
They're killing more Muslims than anyone else.
Yes.
You know who's killing ISIS? Muslims. They're being fought by all fronts by Muslims. So when you have people say the problem is Islam, the identifying factor that you can use to contribute to your conversation or your targets and trying to figure out who the bad guys are, is that they're all just Muslims or most, like you just said. That what does that make you? A bigot, right?
No, I don't think it makes me a bigot at all.
While this argument is commonly used in theological defenses, the delivery mattered. His approach was aggressive, emotionally charged, and accusatory.
How would you define bigotry?
Yeah.
How would I define bigotry?
What is the definition of bigotry?
I think having hate without any reason or fact behind
It
it.
doesn't have to be hate. It doesn't have to be hate. That's wrong. It's
Okay.
not
You say
violence
that a
either.
certain group of people is lazy. Just
Yeah.
a blanket statement like that, and it's not motivated by hate necessarily, but it
I
is a
don't think- I
bigoted.
It is a
I don't
bigoted thing
think
to
I
say.
don't think it's bigotry if it's backed by facts. If I'm looking at Pew Research and I'm saying I'm afraid of,
Pew Research
for example,
study said that most
And you
Muslims
don't
hate the
even
United
know what
States.
Sharia was. You understand? So I'm trying to explain it to you so you can stop being so bigoted.
Which Pew Research study did you read?
okay,
that
the
said
Pew
that?
Research on Muslims and Muslims that
Which
live in
study?
Europe
I'm
and in the Middle
familiar
East
with
and
Pew
across the
Research.
world. Okay, Pew Research on Muslims and their thoughts.
Like what
and
study? I can
Muslims
What
and
study?
their
Okay, I
thoughts?
can't bring
You
it
just
up
said that
right
there's
now.
all these different kinds of people in that building with all these different ideas.
And there are Muslims that
And you
support
just
Trump
said
too.
The Muslim thought. I'm a
Yes.
Muslim person,
Yes.
and I want to know what the Muslim
And guess
thought
what? In the
is.
studies, the thoughts vary.
Almost immediately, he labeled Lauren Southern a bigot despite the fact that she was asking questions, not making declarations.
But I'm not approaching you as a,
Yeah.
as a, as
Okay,
a
but-
journalist.
right.
I'm approaching you as a Muslim.
This shift from debate to character attack marked a turning point. Once accusations replace arguments, meaningful discussion usually ends.
country.
Dramatic thing to ask for journalists to make claims to
No,
provide
I
proof
think
of
they
those
should be
claims?
backed
Is
up,
that-
but I can't bring up the Pew Research study right now. I
You can
can't.
just say-
I don't have a computer
If
on
I
me,
said
guys.
that
Adding to the confusion, the man's self-described Catholic friend attempted to draw a false equivalence.
say that the Earth was flat without any sort of citation. That's,
Okay, well,
that's
I want you
exact same-
to cite-
That's literally the exact same thing that you've.
All right, guys. All right, guys, right now.
Research said that, the sky is purple. Like what? Yeah. Provide me with.
Okay, well, you're
citations.
claiming that the Catholics and Vatican want women to cover up. Give me citations right now. I want your studies right now, or I don't believe a thing you say. You're a bad journalist.
Well, I mean, I'm.
No, citations right now. No,
I'm
citations.
making as valid a claim as you.
No,
are.
citations
You
at
also
the
have
no
a
citations. Dude.
My citation is
Don't
that
prove your
I
point
am
either.
a Catholic. I can.
I want your citations,
you
dude.
said you said earlier
In response
that
to you
people.
asking
Well, wait a minute. You said earlier, for instance, that in Sharia law.
But I'm saying he can't get it right now because we don't have a computer.
You said earlier, Sharia law says that women have to have or whatever. Have people.
In many countries.
He claimed that in Vatican City and across the Catholic world, women are forced to cover their hair, an assertion that is plainly untrue.
I'm saying that it's not
Of
the
course it
principle.
Of course.
Thank you.
No, wait a minute. No, wait a minute. I'm sure you're aware. You're a Christian, correct? I assume.
I'm searching.
I assume then you're familiar with the Old Testament and all of the rules that were laid down back then about people being stoned for
There's been a
adultery.
Reformation.
Ah, yes, and in many Islamic countries, there's also been Reformation. You just told me about Indonesia. I can tell you about the United Arab Emirates. If Saudi Arabia is a problem, you should tell that to Fox News, whose major backers are Saudi nationals.
I know that.
Yeah, so, we have all these conflicting double standards about when, we talk about Islam and when we talk about...
I have a problem with anyone who's backed by Saudi Arabia.
Well, that's good to hear. You should also have a problem then with people who claim to be conservatives and who claim to be against Islam, and claim to be against unreformed Islam, taking money from those people.
I agree. I do, absolutely.
With blanketly, making generalized statements about Islam when there are, as you said, billions of Muslims around the world. Some of them are reformed, some of them are not. There's ISIS, there's Turkey, right? Turkey's a highly modern country. If you look at the Ottoman Empire, it was one of the most advanced civilizations.
Not anymore with Erdogan in power.
There is no legal or religious mandate in Catholic doctrine or Vatican law requiring women to veil themselves. This claim appeared less like a misunderstanding and more like a desperate attempt to level the playing field by inventing parallel oppression.
You cannot make blanket statements. I could point, to Christian
No,
civilization
whenever we
sub-Saharan Africa
whenever we
and
speak
say
about this,
that-
we are saying a large group.
You said
No one is
most.
ever
You didn't
saying
say
all.
large group.
Yes,
You
I
said
actually
most.
think most in the world.
Based on-
I'd suggest watching a video by Ben Shapiro called "The Myth of the Tiny Muslim
Ben
Majority"
Shapiro
or
is-
the Tiny
is-
Muslim
I'm a
Minority.
huge fan of Ben Shapiro.
You should check out his video on that. I do have to go because my security is quite. I quite liked meeting you. I'm sorry, I'm freezing my butt off right now.
I think you
Do
should
have a card?
read
Let's talk where we
Leviticus.
can actually.
When challenged, the Catholic man doubled down. He insisted that Lauren Southern was a bad journalist for not providing citations on the spot.
With people being stoned, you have a problem with people having
Yeah,
their hands cut
I have
off.
a problem with
you
that
have a
too.
problem with
Good, I like
draconian
that.
It's
law.
not even a good
I think
thing.
you should
I'm
open up the
offended by
Bible
you
one of these
being
days.
surprised by that, honestly.
I've got good friends who are Muslim, and I talk to them.
I
about this
doubt
all the
it.
time.
Because
I
they're
think it's
Muslims, you
awesome.
criticize
I think it
and
is
I think that's a
awesome.
shame.
I think it's
I
hey,
think
listen,
that's
listen,
all
listen.
we do.
Spend 1 second and listen. I mean, you said you wanted
There's
to have a
a reason-
conversation.
there's
You
a
said you
reason-
wanted to have a conversation, but listen for a minute. I think it is awesome that
This demand was ironic, given that his own claim about Catholicism lacked any evidence. When Southern asked him for citations to support his statement, he responded that his Catholic identity itself was the citation.
However, if those Muslims hold views that are radical in the sense that they do not align with Western values, for example, they want women covered up in hijabs, I don't want them in the West. If they want Sharia law in the sense of where it's applied in places like Saudi Arabia, I don't want them in the West. I think it's great that they're fighting ISIS, but no, I don't want them changing the base culture of the
This
West.
construction of reality in which you're sort of suggesting that liberals like myself want ISIS to come in here and make women wear.
I'm no one's saying ISIS. I'm talking about.
Well, you're saying what you're suggesting here is that we have a worldview in which we would like to see women covered up because we like Muslims and because we respect them. I think that's a distortion.
In other words, personal belief was offered as proof of an argument that would never be accepted in any serious intellectual setting.
You're saying
That's
that
not
we
what
don't
I'm
care
saying.
about women. You're saying that we don't care about kids.
You
You're
keep
that
saying we.
want-
Stop generalizing.
You're saying
Or
that-
even as Muslims, my
Now we
wife
should
doesn't
stop
cover her
generalizing,
hair.
okay.
Well,
You're
yes.
saying that
What
I
you're
want to
saying.
cover my
Yes,
wife's hair?
I'm saying a majority, and I think you're a minority.
I'm a
I
minority.
think you're a minority.
The discussion then shifted again, this time toward media influence and funding. The aggressive defender claimed that Fox News, despite branding itself as conservative, is funded by Saudi nationals.
I told you I was a Catholic.
Catholic. Sorry. Sorry. You keep saying we when you're talking about Muslims, which is far more liberal.
I'm talking about liberals.
Oh, liberals. Okay.
What I'm saying is that you are sort of constructing a worldview in which you're presenting liberals as people who want to bring in Muslims to change American culture, to make
or
women,
Muslims that want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that
no,
it's
I think a lot of them have
insane for you to suggest that because we are careful about the way we talk about Islam and we're careful.
This claim was dropped without context, evidence, or explanation, leaving the audience confused.
Somehow creating a situation in which the United States is going to be threatened because we welcome into Muslims and we think that we should be careful about the way we talk about
I think you've misrepresented my argument. I don't think liberals want the core of the West to be changed to a Muslim country. I don't think that. I think, in fact, a lot of them have quite kind hearts and they want the world to be a better, open, loving place. But I think that there's...
Most of them are terrorists.
Listen, I never said...
Rather than strengthening his position, it appeared as another attempt to overwhelm the conversation with loosely connected accusations.
We've already talked about this. We've already talked about this. 1 minute. I want to talk to this gentleman. I want to talk to this gentleman.
I actually am curious.
Sure. No. But I want to finish. I want to finish what I was saying.
Finally, the debate arrived at one of the most commonly invoked defenses of Islam, the idea of the moderate Muslim majority, and another journalist joined in who tried to corner Lauren.
We were having a conversation and you entered.
Why don't you ask her about Leviticus?
I want to finish.
You're trying to get attention. Clearly,
Let me finish my sentence. I think that liberals are quite loving and quite kind in a lot of places. However, there is an ignorance attached to it.
The man argued that most Muslims are peaceful, moderate, and opposed to extremism, implying that criticism of Islam is therefore unjustified.
They don't realize that when Muslims en masse come into the country without assimilation...
Have you ever been to a Muslim country?
No. Yeah, I've been in, well, no, not Muslim countries, but Muslim areas.
En masse.
Okay.
I was a terrorist all along.
I knew it.
She
I looked
figured
at
it
you and I
out.
was
She
like,
was right.
Okay. Have you ever been to an area like Molenbeek? I've been to Molenbeek. I've walked through there.
I worked in Libya, so try me.
Okay, well, I'm talking about Molenbeek right now.
Oh, well, where you guys...
Okay.
Lauren Southern countered this by pointing out what she saw as the irrelevance of this majority when it comes to real-world insecurity.
It's an area that has completely changed culturally. You can no longer recognize it as a part of Belgium. And when you talk to the people there, they tell you they want women to cover up. They tell you they want Sharia law in the more radical sense. And yes, I did go and interview people there. And the statistics show that they have radical views and the whole fabric of the area is changing.
You're going to use that area to describe the entire characteristic of a billion,
I never said that,
2.5
guys.
billion people.
I have to dismiss my security, unfortunately, so I do have to go.
Thank you for listening. And I really please.
Cheers. I've got your card. We're going to talk online. It'll be great.
Her argument was not that moderate Muslims don't exist, but that their moderation does little to prevent violence, intimidation, or ideological enforcement carried out in the name of Islam globally.